Hello learners, I am Dr. Teja Shakalita, Department of Philosophy, KK Handic State Open University, and now I am going to discuss about John Rawls' theory of justice. I have already discussed two videos of this unit. It is the unit 15 of the module 12, and today I am going to discuss about the third and the final video for this unit. Now here we'll discuss about John Rawls' theory of justice as a whole. In the first video, we have given an introduction of this particular theory, or in the second video, we have discussed about the theory of justice. Now, we'll discuss about John Rawls' theory of justice. Now, John Rawls' theory of justice revolves around the adoption of two fundamental principles that he believes should ensure a just and morally acceptable society. Now, so far as these theories are concerned, or these principles are concerned, he says that these principles serve as the foundation of his theory, promoting fairness and equality in social and economic structures. Now, the first principle guarantees that each person has the most expansive basic liberty compatible with the liberty of others. And so far as the second principle is concerned, it tries to state that the social and economic position should be structured in such a way that they benefit everyone and are open to all individuals. Now, if we'll see the critical challenge for Rawls, we'll find that a critical challenge for Rawls is to demonstrate how these principles would be universally adopted. This issue delves into broader ethical considerations as it involves persuading individuals to accept these principles as just. Now, to address this challenge, Rawls introduces the theoretical construct. Rawls introduces a theoretical construct known as the veil of ignorance. Now, the concept plays a crucial role in his argument as it ensures impartiality in the selection of justice principles. Under the veil of ignorance, all individuals whom Rawls referred to as players in the social games are placed in a hypothetical original position where they lack specific information about their personal circumstances. Now, they do not know their race, gender, socioeconomic status, natural abilities, or personal goals. Instead, they have only a general knowledge of human society and its workings. This setup forces individuals to make decisions from a completely impartial standpoint, as they cannot favor themselves based on personal attributes of existing social hierarchies. John Rawls he argues that when placed behind this veil of ignorance, irrational individuals would naturally choose principles of justice that are fair to all. Since no one knows where they would end up in society, it would be in everyone's best interest to ensure that the principles governing society do not disadvantage any particular group. This leads to the selection of the two fundamental principles of justice that Rawls proposes. In this context, we can first say about the first principle. The first principle, considering basic liberties, ensures that each person enjoys fundamental rights such as freedom of speech, political liberties, and the right to personal property. These rights must be extensive as possible while remaining compatible with the same freedoms for others. Now, this guarantees that no individual or group is unjustly deprived of the basic rights in a democratic society. And so far as the second principle is concerned, we'll find that it often refers to as difference principle, and it deals with social and economic inequalities. According to this principle, inequalities can be justified only if they benefit everyone, particularly the least advantaged members of society. Furthermore, these positions must be open to all individuals under conditions of fair equality of opportunity. This means that every person should have a fair chance to develop their talents and pursue their ambitions regardless of their social background. Now, so far as Rawls' theory of justice is concerned, we'll find that this theory acknowledges that people have different goals, talents, and backgrounds. However, his principles ensures that no one is unfairly hindered by their starting position in life. The difference principles recognizes that some degree of inequality may be inevitable in society, but it insists that these inequalities must work to the benefit of all, particularly the most disadvantaged. In this way, Rawls' theory promotes a cooperative society where opportunities are not limited by birth or social class but are accessible to everyone on a fair basis. Now, if we'll see this particular point, then we'll find that this particular point try to emphasize on fairness and impartiality distinguishes Rawls' theory from utilitarianism, which prioritize maximizing overall happiness even if it means sacrificing the well-being of some individuals. So it is the basic quality of utilitarianism, and utilitarianism believes in the greatest happiness of the greatest number. That means it gives only importance on the greatest number, but it has given less emphasis on the minority of the group. If we see the Rawls theory, we'll find that Rawls, on the other hand, seeks to construct a framework where each person, regardless of their circumstances, can reasonably expect to live a decent life by ensuring that institutions are constructed to promote fairness and equality. He envisions a society where just prevails not just as an abstract ideal but as a practically reality. Now, Rawls' concept of justice as fairness has been widely influential in political philosophy, inspiring debates on social justice, economic distribution, and the role of government in ensuring equitable opportunities for all citizens. His works underscores the importance of cooperation and mutual respect among individuals in well-ordered. By advocating for principles that individuals would rationally choose under the veil of ignorance, he provides a compelling argument for a just social order that prioritizes fairness and equality. Now, from the above discussion, we can somehow say that so far as Rawls' theory is concerned, Rawls' theory of justice is concerned, it tries to present a framework for constructing a fair society through the adoption of two fundamental principles. They are the protection of basic liberties and the fair distribution of social and economic opportunities. The veil of ignorance assures impartial decision making, leading to a just arrangement that benefit all members of society, particularly the least advantaged. His vision promotes cooperation, fairness, and a moral obligation to create a society where every individual has an equal chance to thrive. Rawls' work remains a cornerstone of modern political philosophy, providing essential insights into the ethical foundations of justice and equality. Now, one question which is found to be emerged from the above discussion is that why should we accept Rawls' principle of justice? Now, let us discuss about this question or this point. So far as Rawls' principle of justice is concerned, we'll find that his principle of justice fundamentally promotes equality among all individuals, ensuring that each person has access to the same basic liberties and opportunities. Rawls' theory is built on the idea that fairness is a primary virtue of social institutions and that justice should be structured in such a way that it benefits everyone, particularly those who are least advantaged. His principle try to emphasize that individuals must recognize and accept the existence of every other human being as equals, leading to a society where all people are on equal footing in terms of their aspiration and rights. Now, if we'll see Rawls' theory of justice, we'll find that a key aspect of Rawls' philosophy is the concept of the original position and the veil of ignorance. This thought experiment requires individuals to design principles of justice without knowing their own social status, wealth, talent, or privilege. By doing so, rational individuals would create a system that is fair and just for all, as they would not risk disadvantaging themselves if they were to end up in an oppressed group. This framework inherently promotes equality by ensuring that societal structures do not favor one group over another. In a just society, competition is inevitable, particularly when multiple individuals desire the same resources, positions, or opportunities. However, competition can be beneficial when structured under fair rules. When individuals must work harder and improve themselves to suppress others, the collective result is progress for all. That means it will ultimately develop the whole society, and it will be good for all the individuals of that particular society. In a meritocratic system where opportunities are equally available and outcomes are determined by effort and ability rather than by arbitrary factors such as race, gender, or class, competition drives innovation and excellence. Thus, competitive circumstances, when managed under the principles of justice, fosters the betterment of society as a whole. Rawls' second principle of justice, the principle of fair equality of opportunity, mandates that all forms of discrimination based on race, ethnic origin, social class, or religious beliefs must be eliminated. This principle asserts that individuals should not face a systematic barriers due to inherent characteristics they cannot control. A truly just society ensures that every person, regardless of background, has an equal chance to succeed based on their talent and effort rather than external prejudices or inherited privileges. Another point what can be mentioned here is that one of the central issues the issues in discussion about justice and equality is the role of individual characteristics in societal structures. Now, race, ethnicity, social background, and religious beliefs are integral part of a personal identity. And one of the important facts is that we cannot get rid of these particular identities. So, these will remain as a person's identity. Yet, they should not be grounds for discrimination for social exclusion. In Rawls' just theory or just society, these characteristics are acknowledged as person attributes but do not influence an individual's right or opportunities. Justice is only compromised when an individual's liberties are curtailed based on the characteristics either through direct oppression or systematic biasness. Now, oppression occurs when the dominant segment of society impose their benefits, values, or structures upon marginalized groups, thereby limiting their freedoms and opportunities. A just society must actively work against such oppression by ensuring that institutions remain neutral and fair. This means implementing policies and laws that protect individuals' freedom while fostering inclusivity. Societal institutions, whether legal, educational, or economic, must be structured to promote equitable access to resources and opportunities for all individuals. Now, again, if we see Rawls' concept of justice as fairness, we'll find that it recognizes that individuals have different talents and backgrounds, but these differences should not translate into just advantages or disadvantages. Rather, justice should ensure that those who are less fortunate receive the necessary support to achieve similar opportunities as those who are more privileged. This we will find we can give one example in this respect is that in India there is quota system. So when quota system was included in our in the constitution, This particular theory of justice, which was given by Rawls, had been, I think, taken into consideration, or it is Rawls' theory is supporting this particular point, where it is mentioned clearly that that justice should ensure that those who are less fortunate receive the necessary support to achieve similar opportunities as those who are more privileged. Now, this approach does not mean erasing individual differences, but rather ensuring that these differences do not become the basis for systematic inequality. On the other way, societies can uphold Rawlsian justice is through policies that promote social mobility and equal access to essential services such as education, healthcare, and employment opportunities. A just system ensures that education is not only available to all but also of equal quality, so that individuals from disadvantaged backgrounds are not systematically held back. Similarly, access to healthcare and other social services should not be determined by one's socioeconomic status but should be universally available. Ultimately, Rawls' principles seek to create a society where justice prevails through equal access to rights and opportunities rather than one where privilege determines success. By ensuring fair competition and removing systematic barriers, societies can encourage individuals to strive for excellence while maintaining ethical fairness. Justice is not simply about punishing discrimination but about proactively creating conditions where all individuals can thrive regardless of their backgrounds. So, from the above discussion, it can be concluded that Rawls' principles emphasize that justice is achieved when individuals recognize one another as equal, are provided with fair opportunities, and are not hindered by arbitrary discrimination. Competition, when structured fairly, benefits society by fostering progress and innovation. A just society must actively work to eliminate systematic discrimination and ensures that no individual's liberties are compromised due to their inherent characteristics. Now, so far as justice is concerned, in its truest form, respects and upholds the individuality of every person while ensuring that fairness and equality are foundations to societal structures. I have already told you that so far as Rawls' concept of justice is concerned, it is not free from criticism. So, here we'll discuss about the criticism that has been faced by John Rawls' theory of justice. John Rawls' influential work, A Theory of Justice, which was written in the year 1971, set the stage for much of contemporary political philosophy, presenting a model of justice as fairness, equality, and the principles of justice as fairness. However, his framework was not without its criticism. Over the years, a range of scholars and philosophers have challenged Rawls' theory of justice from different perspectives, including libertarianism, communitarianism, and feminism, and of course from utilitarianism. Among his most notable critics were Robert Nozick, Michael Walzer, Michael Sandel, and Susan Moller Okin, each of whom found significant areas of Rawls' framework to be lacking. One of the most direct critics came from Robert Nozick, a libertarian philosopher and Rawls' colleague at Harvard, who furnished Anarchy and Utopia in 1974. In that book, Nozick tried to show that direct response to Rawls' emphasis on distributive justice and the role of the state in ensuring framework are very necessary to discuss. Nozick argued for a minimal state, emphasizing individuals' rights, self-ownership, and the inviolability of private property. He contended that Rawls' difference principles which allows for inequalities only if they benefit the least advantaged, was unjust because it permitted redistributive policies that violated individual liberty. Nojik's entitlement theory of justice proposed that individuals have the right to acquire and transfer property freely, provided these transfers do not violate anyone else's rights. Now, these perspectives fundamentally opposed Rawls' concept of justice as fairness, instead advocating for a system that respects voluntary exchange and the right of individuals to the holding without state interference. So far as Michael Walzer is concerned, he is another Harvard colleague and has offered a different critique from a communitarian perspective. In his book, Spheres of Justice, Walzer argued that justice is not a singular universal principle but is instead rooted in the specific values and traditions of different societies. His views emerged from a seminar he co-taught with Nojik, where he developed his belief that Rawls' theory was too abstract and detached from real-world social and cultural context. Unlike Rawls, who sought principles of justice that could apply universally, Walzer contended that justice should be understood in terms of how goods such as education, wealth, political power are distributed within particular communities. He further argued that different spheres of justice operate with their own norms and criteria, and thus justice must be pluralistic rather than monistic. Now, so far as Michael Sandel's view is concerned, he is one of the other faculty member of Harvard University, and he chased at the communitarian critique in liberalism and limits of justice. He took issues with Rawls' reliance on the original position, a hypothetical scenario in which individuals determine principles of justice without knowing their own social status, class, or personal attributes. Sandel argues that Rawls' framework asks individuals to think about justice in a way that is artificially detached from their values, commitments, and identities. According to Sandel, people do not exist on abstract, unencumbered selves but are instead deeply embedded in relationships and traditions that shape their understanding of justice. Thus, he believes Rawls' theory was overly individualistic and ignored the communal and historical dimensions of moral and political reasoning. Another thinker who is a feminist critic of Rawls was Susan Moller-Okin. Feminist critique of Rawls, notably from Susan Moller-Okin, she focused on his failure to address gender inequality and the injustice embedded within family structures. Rawls limited the application of justice to the basic structure of society, meaning fundamental social and political institutions such as government and legal frameworks. However, feminist argues that this ignored the way injustice operates in private spheres, particularly within the households. The feminist slogan, "The personal is political," captured their concern that power dynamics in families, gender's role, and the divisions of labor in domestic life and integral life are integral to understanding justice. Okin contended that so far as Rawls' theory of justice is concerned, it fails to address how patriarchal social structures perpetuate enforcing traditional gender roles and the unpaid labor of women in caregiving and household work only. Now, she further called for a broader application of justice that includes gender equality in both public and private life. Now, together, these critiques highlight fundamental tensions in Rawls' theory of justice. While his work provides a powerful foundation for contemporary political philosophy, Nojik, Walzer, Sandel, and Okin each pointed out significant areas where his theory either failed or sought or failed to account for crucial aspects of justice. Whether from libertarian, communitarian, or feminist perspective, these critics continue to shape and challenge the discussion on the nature of justice, fairness and political philosophy today. Now, if we see the overall theory of John Rawls' theory of justice, we'll find that justice is a very complex and evolving concept that varies across individuals and societies. It is not solely about material equality, but it encompasses broader aspects such as economic disparity, cultural recognition, gender inequality, social respect, etc. Now, different people perceive justice in different ways based on their experiences, identities, and societal context. John Rawls, in his theory of justice, attempted to establish principles that ensure fairness by distinguishing between the personal and the political. He proposed the veil of ignorance as a method to determine just principles in a fair manner. However, various critics highlight that Rawls' framework does not fully address contemporary concerns such as intersectionality, systematic oppression, and global justice. In modern times, a more comprehensive theory of justice is necessary, one that integrates these critics and acknowledges the interconnected nature of inequalities. Justice should not be seen merely as fair distribution, but should also recognize the importance of dignity, identity, and representation. It must address realities of marginalized communities and strive for an inclusive society where justice is both substantive and important. Now, a new theory of justice should move beyond Rawls' limitation to create a framework that is responsive to the complexities of the contemporary world. So, this is in brief about the John Rawls theory of justice. We have completed this unit in 3 particular videos, or we have elaborated the whole unit into 3 parts, and we have tried to discuss it more elaborately. Now, let us see, by including the whole unit, that means from the first video, from the second video, and from today's video, what we have found, or what are the main points of this particular unit. First, justice is the legal or philosophical theory by which fairness is administered. Most academic debate about the concept of justice starts with John Rawls' famous difference principle, which asserts that inequalities in the distribution of scarce goods, power, money, access to healthcare, or whatever are justified only if they serve to increase the advantage of the least favored group in society. Just distribution or distributive justice concerns the nature of a society's just allocation of goods in a society. The concept includes the available quantities of goods, the process by which goods are to be distributed, and the resulting allocation of the goods into the members of the society. Rawls' justice, that justice can be created through just institutions, and Rawls' theory of justice revolves around the adoption of 2 fundamental principles of justice, which would in turn guarantees a just and morally acceptable society. A key problem to Rawls is to show how such principles would be universally adopted, and here the work borders on general ethical issues. Rawls proposes that the most reasonable principles of justice for a society are those that individuals would themselves agree to behind the veil of ignorance in circumstances in which each is represented as moral powers. In fair equality for opportunity, we may eliminate all forms of discrimination and degradation of race, ethnic origin, social standard, and religious intolerance and principles. Feminist critics of Rawls, such as Susan Moller-Hawkins, largely focused on weakness of Rawls in according for the injustices and hierarchies embedded in a familial relation. Rawls' theory of justice has another point, that Rawls argued that justice ought only apply to the basic structure of society. So, this is in brief what we have found in Rawls' theory of justice as fairness. Dear learners, This is the last video of this course, Social and Political Philosophy. So far, you have got altogether 15 units including this, and out of the 15 unit, we have made 40 videos, and all the units has been tried to elaborate more precisely to you so that you will be benefited from this course. I think you have found this course interesting and you have benefited from this course. So on behalf of the whole course, I as a course coordinator Dr. Teja Shakalita, thanking you all for being a part of this course. Thank you so much and all the best for your future.